My name is Steve Miller. I think you'll find this is an interesting evening. This is the fifth and the last daily Green Your Life event sponsored by Middletown for Clean Energy and Sierra Club. The links to recordings will be sent to you for all 5 of these last week's events. I will introduce both of tonight's featured speakers. First to speak is Dennis Anderson. He's a longtime Sierra Club member and educator. He taught high school chemistry and astronomy in East Brunswick outdoor, and he's also an outdoor adventurist. He's going to continue to educate you tonight. A little thing about himself, he's a major whitewater rafting fan. He's had 35 rafting adventures as far away as the Zambezi River in southern Africa. He entered the water just downstream of Victoria Falls, the largest waterfall in the world, at least during the wet season. And Dennis will be interviewed by Lara, who's a sustainable development major at McGill University. Dennis is going to be followed by Ariane Benrey, the BPU program administrator and policy advisor. Her major interest is energy policy with a focus on renewable energy policy. So tonight, we are especially pleased to have her provide expert advice on solar and community, mostly on community solar. Everybody's encouraged to ask questions by writing in the chat. Write to everyone so we can all see it. The chat is the box at the bottom of your screen. And you enter the topic, and then when you hit return, it will be sent to everybody. So after both speakers have concluded, we'll review and answer all the questions. Actually, we already started putting Ariane on the spot representing the BPU in the last half hour of discussions. So now we welcome Dennis, who will tell us about his intriguing title for tonight's talk, Soil, Sun, and 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3 seconds. Dennis, take the floor.
Hello, I'm Dennis Anderson. I've agreed to show off my solar and EVs, that is electric vehicles, to hopefully influence others to do the same. Almost 60% of New Jersey carbon emissions can be eliminated with solar panels and electric cars. If you can't do that, march on your township, influence your politicians. Welcome to my home. I've lived here 14 years and try to green my life as much as possible.
Dennis, can a single person have an impact?
Forget the what can I do? I'm just one person. Nothing starts until one person starts it. Greta Thunberg comes to mind. Another powerful concept, the power of 5. If you find something that incensed you, you want to change it, you want to challenge it, find 4 friends and get them to back you up and get involved with you. If you can't find 4 friends to go along with you, forget about it. It's the power of 5 that's vital. In New Jersey, a lady that lived near the Great Swamp in Morris County found 4 friends, and they sat around her kitchen table and plotted how to stop a jetport. Pictured Newark Airport, including all their runways and parking lots, from being located in the Great Splash Swamp. And they managed it with some rich and influential friends. Their association bought 2,600 acres and donated it to the federal government to qualify for protection as a national wildlife refuge. It has been expanded to 7,800 acres, and it's gorgeous. If you've never been there, take somebody to walk around. It's not that crowded. They've got trails, boardwalks, and nearby is a hawk rescue facility. And remember, never underestimate the power of one person and their kitchen table.
Wise words. All right, so how are you utilizing Mother Nature to green your life and your household?
So here's my home, and here's what I've done to increase Mother Nature in participating in my home and garden. Okay, backyard. There we go. There's my backyard. Now you notice there's a lot of black plastic. I'll tell you about it later. In 2008, I added 100 barrels of leaves and all my grass cuttings of the season to my very poor topsoil. Within 2 years, the tan soil became black, moist, wonderful soil. I had to cut my tomato plants back 3 times. No fertilizers of any kind were used. In 2010, I rerouted all my roof drains to become part of an extensive rain garden. All the gardens along the sides are fed by the roof and require no supplemental water. Exception, new plantings until their roots are established. I use black plastic to reduce weeds by 85%, and it's still exhausting. The soil under the 6 mil black plastic is always moist. The sun and the rain and the microbes and the worms turn dirt, leaves, and grass clippings into perfect, highly nutritious soil. Many vegetables need to be rotated: garlic, eggplant, tomatoes, peppers, to name a few. Since I don't have a large enough garden, it's just the one in the center. I rotate the soil. I used to rotate the top 6 inches. Not up to it anymore. Now I only remove a 12-inch diameter plug of soil and hope for the best. Okay, time for the slide on ground ivy. There it is. Okay, hopefully you don't recognize those pretty little purple flowers. Gardening tip: beware of ground ivy. Note the tiny purple flowers and the thumb-sized leaves. If left alone, they will overwhelm your garden. Pull them up whenever you see them. Remember, they are a vine and will surround all your plants.
How is the sun helping to green your life in other ways?
After seeing Revenge of the Electric Car, I got involved, and so did my wife, Carol. I became a fan of electric cars. In 2012, I purchased the maximum number of solar panels possible for my roof. Okay, this is, okay, now we need the Teslas. There we go. Okay, notice that the one on the right has its hood open. What's inside the hood? What do you see? Why, nothing. There's nothing under the hood. That's because it's a total electric car. Now, from the rear view, you see those black wires coming up to the left side of the rear. I am charging them with my solar panels, and it costs me nothing. My transportation costs are 0. In 2012, we checked out the Tesla Model S, a 2-year waiting period. Forget about it. The Chevy Volt gasoline and plug-in was in the showroom and ready for a home, so we brought her home, but we were never close enough to name her. In 2014, I bought a 2014 Tesla, the baby, Model S85, meaning the battery stores 85 kilowatts of power. Now, it was a 3-month waiting period. Perfect. At that time, our other car was a Nissan Sentra. We spent over $4,000 a year on gasoline for the Nissan. In 2017, we bought a 2017 Model S75D. D stands for all-wheel drive. 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3.1 seconds. We named her Baby 2, TOO. We will never buy another drop of gasoline again. So yes, the sun has eliminated all the fossil fuels from my transportation, has eliminated tons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. I generated 1.39 megawatt hours of electricity in March of 2021. Quote, your carbon offset for this month is 2,120 pounds. You have offset the equivalent of 25 trees. Now that is totally green.
I see more solar panels on roofs, but not many. What are the advantages of going solar?
Why invest in solar panels? In 2012, when I had mine installed, a 30% rebate on the cost and the selling of the generation of electricity to the state. For 43 solar panels, that's about $3,000 a year. You will save at least $4,000 a year on gasoline if you buy an electric car, and over $1,500 on home electricity. Since I paid cash for the system, I generate over 15% return on investment and it is reasonably stable. The benefits are moving targets, so listen carefully to the next speaker. The box on the left, there's a reverse meter. You know, everybody's meter goes from the power lines into your house, and it swirls around and you get charged for your usage. Well, a reverse meter means if your solar panels are cooking and you are not using all your electricity, the electricity goes back into the grid. And so you get credit. And on your statement every month, it says banked, and it shows how many kilowatt hours you have banked. They're stored there. So in the summer, you get surplus, and in the winter, you get no surplus, so you kind of like balance out. SREX meter is used to track the electricity that you generate so the state can figure out how much they owe you for making that electricity. And remember, you get to use that electricity, but they pay you for making it because they need that credit. They need renewable source energy. Many companies are offering to put solar on your roof for no cost to you, and you pay them for electricity your home generates. Why would they do that? Solar company is using your roof as a free substrate for their panels. They benefit from all government incentives, and they get a guaranteed income from you as you pay your solar company's utility bill. The method I use gave me a 15% return on investment for 15 years. This includes charging an electric car using your solar panels. You pay cash to have it installed, reap all the government benefits. If you don't have the cash, use your home equity loan at about 4%. Remember, you're getting 15%. Gee, which is better? I spent 15 minutes extolling the virtues of the method to an actual genuine Wall Street broker, and he went for choice number 1. Go figure. What are the government incentives? The next speaker will bring you up to date. Whatever you decide when your installer applies for permits, now we got to pay attention to this. This is very important. A little pressure, you know, like get your politicians. Okay, this is where it's got to be. Okay, have him ask for sufficient panels to charge your future electric car. If they say no, ask why not. It is time for the BPU to join the march to encourage electric vehicles. There's no better place than on your roof. Now, General Motors will sell only electric vehicles by 2035 and is funding the research for a new battery system that is reputed to be twice as electrically dense as Tesla. This is important. The battery could weigh half as much, or you could have twice the range. What options? Suggestion by the BPU on getting solar panels for your electric cars. Buy and charge your car first before installing solar. That because it's historic electric use. That's the problem now. All they have to do is change a couple sentences and everything would be copacetic. Lara?
I understand that over 100 years ago, electric cars outsold gasoline engine cars. What happened?
Now we're talking. We know what sells. We know what sells cars, even in 1900. When electric cars first came to market, they were small, light, easy to drive, and had an acceptable range and speed. How so? The wealthy homeowner was replacing his horse and buggy with an electric car, and that was what he was comparing it to.
How did the gasoline auto wipe out the electric cars?
Okay, the major disadvantage of a gasoline auto in 1900 is it required a crank inserted in the front of the car to start the automobile. Many times it was difficult to get the engine to turn over, especially in cold weather. Cranking was physically demanding and could kick back and break thumbs and even arms. That would be a real disincentive. Cranking the auto meant that you were unprotected from the weather. Think snow, sleet, and rain. You're all dressed up. You're going to have a board meeting at your giant, massive bank, and you've got snow and sleet, and your thumb hurts. A major reason that the gasoline auto won out, in 1912, Cadillac produced an electric starter for its gasoline auto that was inside the car, and the fate of the electric car was sealed.
So why the electric car now?
Convincing skeptics will require advancement not just in performance, range, and recharging infrastructure, but successful marketing as well. A market-driven conversion, as pointed out by Bloomberg and Ian King, an investment advisor, may make the crossover more market-driven. Soon, the electric vehicle could be cheaper than the internal combustion engine. With a reduction in energy costs considerably in the favor of electricity over gasoline, the crossover may well be market-driven.
Will the above convince them?
Economics and visual appeal are vital.
If gas, truck, and SUV owners refuse to go EVs, what happens?
Okay, why now? Transportation generates over 30% of global greenhouse gases, and electric car none. As the generation of electricity moves toward all renewable, the electric car continues to decrease its carbon footprint. What generates its electricity? The more renewable energy is used to produce electricity, then their footprint is less. Much of the carbon dioxide your fossil fuel car produces today will be around in 2121. Now is a very good time to go electric vehicle.
What will it take to get fossil fuel cars off the road?
In my opinion, the government must decrease the production of fossil fuel cars to zero in a short period of time. Or better yet, the EV becomes much cheaper to buy and operate, and the government does not have to step in. If only electric cars are allowed in the new car market, the auto companies will come up with the most gorgeous e-trucks and e-SUVs. Also, a more electrically dense battery could be a game changer, and General Motors is in that game. Tesla is no longer alone at the cool kids table. BMW 14, Mustang Mach-E, Audi e-tron GT, and Jaguar I-Pace have joined the table. As the slide indicates, all the major auto companies worldwide are building e-cars, and the Chevy Bolt, the Nissan Leaf, and the Volkswagen's EV base price is $38,000 to $41,000 with a range of 225 to 258 miles. Tesla Model 3 with a 350-mile range. Pre-owned is another good option since the prices are very reasonable. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Dennis, thank you for a very interesting personal talk. Next, I want to give a big welcome to Ariane Benrey, the BPU Program Administrator and Policy Advisor. I noted her focus was on renewable energy policy, and that's also my interest. So tonight, I am particularly pleased to hear Ariane's discussion about solar and mostly community solar. So Ariane, take it away.
Hey, well, good evening, everyone. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. I'm not going to be able to follow Dennis's presentation with pictures that incredible and a story quite that personal. But I've been asked to come and talk to you about solar and about sort of some of the programs that the state runs, and in particular about community solar. So I've got just a few slides that I'm going to pop up here. I'm going to cover these slides hopefully relatively briefly, and then I've been told to expect some tough questions, which I look forward to. So hopefully we can have a good amount of question and answer. I'm really here to provide as a resource and to provide any answers that you need. So a little bit of background about the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities, which you are most likely familiar with. If you are not, the BPU is a state agency that regulates the state's public utilities. And for purposes of this discussion, primarily, everything from water, gas, electric, cable and telecommunications. And my personal focus is on the electric side. The Clean Energy Program is a program that is run by the Board of Public Utilities. It is a program that is funded primarily through the societal benefits charge, which is a charge that appears on everybody's utility bill. So if you pay an electric utility bill in the state of New Jersey, electric or gas for that matter, you are paying into the societal benefits charge. And that charge is used to fund a variety of programs that all aim to promote energy efficiency and the use of clean, renewable sources of energy. Now, I'm really going to be focusing on solar this evening, but if you have any interest at all, I'd highly encourage you to go and take a look at our website, njcleanenergy.com. The New Jersey Clean Energy Program includes initiatives as far-ranging as appliance rebates. If you are looking to purchase new energy efficiency, what we call Energy Star appliances, go to the website. Chances are there may be a rebate there that you can take advantage. If you're looking to do home remodeling, if you're looking to do energy audits, if you have an old fridge in your garage that you're looking to get rid of, we will come pick it up, take it away, and pay you money for the privilege of doing so. So there are a lot of programs that are run both directly for residential customers as well as for commercial and industrial customers. And then there are some initiatives that are more directly energy focused, and in particular, as I said, solar, which will be my focus. We've mentioned, or Dennis mentioned, sort of the state's commitment to clean energy, and in particular, New Jersey's Energy Master Plan is a document that was released in January of last year. And the goal of the Energy Master Plan is to provide support and to provide a pathway for achieving the state's ambitious 100% clean energy by 2050 goal, which is a goal that was set by Governor Murphy in an executive order early in his administration, which really aims to completely transform our energy sector and the way that New Jerseyans get power. And as part of the Energy Master Plan, one of the pieces of that clean energy puzzle was modeling that suggested a significant increase in the state's solar capacity from roughly 3,500 megawatts today to approximately 12,000 megawatts by 2030, 17,000 megawatts by 2035, and 32,000 megawatts by 2050. To give you a sense of where New Jersey stands now, so as I said, we have about 3,500 megawatts installed, spread out over 138,000 systems statewide. And I'm just going to take a second here because this is a good illustration of what different types of solar there are. By far the most common type of solar is what we call behind the meter solar. Also referred to, although the terms are not exactly synonymous, but net metered solar. And that's what Dennis was showing a picture of on his roof, is a system that is directly connected to a building and is directly tied to the usage of that building. And as Dennis said, as the solar is produced, every kilowatt hour of solar that is produced rolls back the meter, the usage meter for the usage from that location, but on a one-to-one basis. Kilowatt hour of solar produced is a kilowatt hour of energy that is sort of rolled back on your meter. And so that provides some great energy savings for those who are able to have behind a net meter system. As you can see, we have about 138,000 of those systems installed. There is a different type of solar that's called grid supply solar that you may or may not have heard of, but grid supply solar is essentially a solar power plant. But rather than being gas or nuclear, it's solar. And so grid supply solar typically tends to be much larger scale. And these are systems that sell power directly onto the grid. And they either sell them, they have off-takers through a power purchase agreement, or they sell directly onto the wholesale markets. But these are systems that are not directly tied to load, not directly tied to one household's or one building's usage. And the new cool kid on the block, which is really going to be my focus, is something called community solar. Community solar is really a hybrid between the two. The idea of community solar is to bridge the gap between the personal individual benefits of behind the meter solar with the economies of scale, the larger scale of grid supply solar. And the way community solar is structured is it's typically a larger system. It is not directly located with load, so it doesn't necessarily need to be on somebody's roof or directly in their garden. And it's directly interconnected from an electrical standpoint to the grid. But the benefits of the power that is produced by a community solar system is divided up virtually by means of a credit on the utility bill, which means that if I were to sign up for a community solar project and Dennis signs up for one and Steve signs up for that same project, we all become participants, we call them subscribers, to a community solar project. And the reason that community solar is a real focus for the state now is because solar, as we saw, has been a strong emphasis, has sort of gone strong in the state so far. But there are a lot of reasons for which households, and not just households, but businesses as well, have not been able to go solar. The most obvious barrier is, what if you don't own your home? Or what if you live in an apartment? You don't have a roof available to put solar on. There can be issues with costs. There can be issues with the roof, whether the roof is shaded or the roof was replaced 5 years ago. It's not quite ready to be replaced again. It's not quite stable enough to support solar. There are any number of reasons for which solar may not be an option for you directly to get net metered solar like Dennis has. And that's where community solar is able to step in. So I'm just going to spend a second here and talk about the flow of money, because people often ask, they want to know, well, I understand in net metered solar, my meter flows backwards. I get direct savings on my utility bill. What does the money flow look like in community solar? Well, in community solar, a group of people get together and they sign up for a community solar project. Now, in order to participate, in order for to have the ability to be counted as a participant in a community solar project, there is a subscription fee. And I will get back to in a minute how that fee is calculated. But that fee is paid to the project. The project produces power, and the power is sent directly to the utility grid, and it's managed by the electric utilities. As well as sort of at the same time, the project managers send the utilities a list of the participants in the project. So for instance, they might say, Ariane has 10% of the power that's produced by this system, and Dennis has 20%, and Steve has 5%. And the utility is going to take that allocation and all that list of participants and allocate a credit on the utility bill for each participant based on their proportional share of the system. And that bill credit value is calculated based on a calculation that's set by the board. It's not quite the same value as net metered. It's not quite a full kilowatt hour cost. So it's not quite what we call retail rate, but it's fairly close. And we have calculations available on our website that I'm happy to direct you towards. And so the calculation that's done is, so you have the credit on your utility bill. And to come back and close the circle, the subscription fee is usually, not always, but most commonly built as a percentage of your bill credit, which means that often a community solar developer will say, no matter what the value of your community solar credit, the subscription fee is going to be, for instance, 80% of your credit. which means that no matter the situation, you're always going to have a 20%, you're going to retain 20% of that bill savings as pure savings for your participation in community solar. Again, there are multiple different types of community solar. I just described the most common one, which is a subscription-based program or project rather. The community solar is extremely flexible, extremely versatile. And so there are multiple different configurations, including ownership models, co-op models, which I won't get into unless you're interested. But again, the idea is to save people money. It's not typically as much as you would have, as much savings as you would have if you installed the system directly on your roof. But you also have no panels, no upfront costs, no operations or management costs. You're just signing up for a system and getting money back. So community solar is relatively new in New Jersey. It was established pursuant to the Clean Energy Act of 2018, and the board has established program rules which enabled the establishment of first a 3-year pilot program in February of 2019. The 3-year pilot program is coming to an end at the end of this year, but it will be replaced with a permanent community solar program. So community solar is really here to stay in the state. And we are looking forward to continuing to grow the program. The very first year of the program was held in 2019. The way the pilot program is structured is through a competitive solicitation. So the board solicited, sent out an application and asked interested projects to apply to the program. The board received in the very first year 252 applications and selected 45, representing approximately 78 megawatts. Now, just a few notes. As you can see from the map, these systems are located all across the state, and there are 45 of them. They're located on sites that are what sort of were deemed preferred locations based on the evaluation criteria that had been laid out by the board. So these are sites, we often call them the built environment. So rooftops, parking canopies, as well as sites such as landfills or brownfields, sites that really tend to be very good uses for solar, because chances are if you have a closed landfill, there really is not a lot that you can do with it, and solar is a prime use. The other point of pride in the program is equity and accessibility. One of the sort of observations in solar thus far is that solar adoption tends to be, simply by virtue of the fact that it is, there is a cost associated with it, tends to have higher adoption rates among higher income households. And community solar attempts to, or provides a way to start to address that problem. The board laid out a policy preference for projects that we call LMI projects, low and moderate income projects. And these are projects that commit to awarding at least 51% of the project's capacity to households that are low and moderate income. And in that way, we're able to increase equity and increase accessibility for solar and the savings associated with solar to households that may not have been able to participate before. We're very excited to say that the very first community solar projects have just opened. These are 2 projects side by side located in Perth, Amboy. The ribbon cutting happened at the end of January. And just to give you a sense of scale, it's really hard to tell from the picture, but these are combined 7 megawatts worth of solar. Now, to give you, just a sense, a typical residential system that you will see on somebody's roof is going to be on average between 5 and 8 kilowatts. Megawatt is 1,000 kilowatts. So 7 megawatts is, give or take, roughly 1,000 residential systems. So these are relatively large systems. Year 2 is currently ongoing. The board, based on the success of the first year, decided to double the amount of capacity that was available to 150 megawatts. Again, there will be priority for low and moderate income projects, or projects that have a majority low and moderate income participants. Applications were due in February, and the board is currently actively reviewing the 410 applications that were received, representing 800 megawatts. And this is to soothe my policy wonk heart. This is just to give you a sense of the policy priorities. These are the evaluation criteria that the board will be using to evaluate the applications that were received. And as you can see, there is a preference for projects that are low and moderate income projects serving low and moderate income customers. There's an equally high preference given to projects based on their site. Again, projects that use existing sites and for which solar is really a high use. And then equally important is community and environmental justice engagement. Projects that are able to demonstrate that they have ongoing active collaboration with local community organizations, with local and environmental organizations, with affordable housing providers, as well as with the local municipality. Because the key with community solar is in its name. Community solar is really intended to be community-based. And there are some other elements, including whether or not the project is going to be offering guaranteed savings and what percentage of guaranteed savings is being offered. So I'll stop there and open it up to questions. I'm also going to turn my light on in just a second, but I wanted to give you 2 resources. The first is the community solar email, communitysolar@njcleanenergy.com. That email does come to me directly, so you know who's hiding behind that email. And that is the email. If you have any questions about community solar or frankly about any of our programs, feel free to use that email. I will direct you appropriately. And additionally, our website, njcleanenergy.com/community solar, is an exhaustive resource with all of the community solar history with everything the state has done over the last 3 years. And I will stop there and hopefully get some good questions.
Thank you, Ariane. I sort of feel like this is the message directly from the New Jersey BPU, so thank you. So now we have time for Q&A. I encourage you, everybody, to write your questions in the chat. You'll find that chat icon at the bottom of your screen, and then enter your question. You should enter to everybody. So we have a number of things, I think, in chat. Ariane, you probably see it. Is that true?
I see. I had a couple questions sent to me directly.
Okay.
But not the others, including one that I'll just say I unfortunately can't answer. I had a question about the second-year applications. Because it's an ongoing solicitation, because the applications are under review, I unfortunately really can't talk at all about any applications we may or may not have received.
No inside information. Okay. You said there were 2 questions that just went to you?
Yes, I also have a question here that's highly technical about the incentive program, which I'm happy to answer or follow up with the person who asked directly.
Directly, okay.
Everybody's interested in the ins and outs of our incentive program policy.
Okay, so they're going to be able to reach you at communitysolar@njcleanenergy.com. Are you going to get back directly to them? You don't have their email.
I don't believe so, but if you reach out to me here, I'll put the email back on. I mean, unless everybody's interested, but it was a question about the solar transition and about the incentive program that is being replaced. I feel it's probably a question better answered with a specific case.
Okay, so you'll steer it to the right expert. Thank you. So I have a question. related to why is there a limit on capacity for the trial? Why not allow most or all of the applicants to be approved?
That's a really good question. And that's a question you may need to ask the board commissioners. The community solar as a concept in the state is relatively new. And so originally, when the boards laid out, 75 megawatts in the first year, there was no guarantee that those 75 megawatts were even going to be filled. And as it turns out, there is a very strong level of interest in community solar in the state. And I certainly hope that that's going to continue, and hope that the program will continue to evolve as it matures. But currently there is a 150 megawatt limit, which, to give you a sense of scale, it may not sound like a lot, but the state currently does an average of 300 to 400 megawatts annually. So 150 megawatts for a brand new program is a pretty good number.
Okay, there's a question, what type of organization typically applies to put the solar system together? And another piece of the question, are subscribers limited to those in the town where the facility is located?
Both excellent questions, and I'm thrilled you asked them. The first question is really anybody who wants to can put together an application. Now, most often they tend to be developed by solar developers for whom this is their bread and butter, and they understand. But we also have applications that are put together either entirely or with a strong partnership with a municipality. A town will put an application together, or collaborative efforts between, for instance, affordable housing providers and a developer. Or once again, there's often a very strong and an important role for local community organizations and local community groups. The second question is who can apply? So anybody who is a customer of a New Jersey Electric Distribution Company, whether that's Public Service Electric and Gas, Jersey Central Power and Light, Rockland Electric, or Atlantic City Electric, is eligible to participate as a subscriber to a community solar project. And that includes all types of customers, residential, commercial, government, as long as you have an electric utility account. Projects are only allowed to sign up customers from within that electric service territory. And some projects are, take customers from that entire service territory. But there is in fact, often a catch, which is that one of the criteria based on which projects were scored, and this was true in the first year, it's true this year as well, is what we call the geographic limit. That is to say, what is the catchment area, if you will, of that project? And projects that committed to only signing up customers from within the municipality or the adjacent municipality compared to where the project is located, received higher scores. And so it's really case specific is the answer. It really depends on the project as to how far from the project they are allowed to sign up customers.
Super. I don't see any more questions in my feed. You should check to make sure you didn't get any additional in your feed, Ariane. Because we could be separate, different comments here. To sort of enhance the number of questions, I have now allowed everybody to unmute themselves and to allow your video to be shown. Maybe that'll flesh out more people willing to talk. Also, I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to halt the recording